Hello again everybody and a very warm welcome back to the channel. Today we're at Martha's Vineyard Airport, the east coast of the US, with a really nice payware scenery created by the developers Burning Blue Design. And on the apron, just over the roof line here, we're going to be exploring today the upcoming MilViz 310R for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Going to be their latest payware product coming to the sim. I hope you enjoy today's video. Please do make sure you hit the like button and subscribe down below while you're here. And as always, really important, please do share your thoughts in the comments below. Here she is on stand. Chocks are attached and both the pilots are on board. And from the exterior, the model looks really nice. Speaking of the exterior model, we can see, in addition to the chocks, we've got some removed before flight tags located on various parts of the aircraft. And also, around the propeller intakes, or the engine intakes, got some covers as well. Intakes there, all attached, looking really good. Now, we're not going to cover everything this aircraft has to offer. Some of it is always nice to be left to surprise should you wish to purchase it, and it gives you something to explore yourself. Diving straight into the aircraft. Got the door open, and actually the interior is really nicely textured. Look at the seats. Texturing there, I've got along the side of the aircraft as well, that fabric appearance. That's some remarkable level of detail that they've put into this. Even the stitch work actually on the seats, and that worn effect of the kind of like the sort of faux leather. Very nice indeed. Very impressive aeroplane visually from the inside. If we go forwards towards where all the business happens, we can pull down the sun visors. Oh, look at that little glimmer there from the sun. Look at that, very cool. Get those put away, and even the cockpit looks really nice. Everything that you kind of want and expect from the aeroplane as well is all included. You've got your dual engine proper mixture levers. And I'll be controlling this with the Turtle Beach Velocity 1 flight yoke, which also includes the 4-lever throttle quadrant, but in addition to that, it has some general aviation throttle proper mixture levers too, which we're going to use to control this today. So the first thing that stands out is the EFB, and I mean, you can't avoid it because it's there, it's right in your face, but you can hide it by clicking the click spot at the bottom left, which is nice. Effectively what it does is it gives you a number of different options. It allows you to open everything up and also take all the covers and the chocks and the control locks away as well. Now interestingly, it has a passenger comfort index. You can add passengers into the rear, and if you're using add-ons that give you a bit of a career mode, there are some other features as well, like a rental feature to the tachograph and some nice little realism features that they've included here. We can click front right to get rid of the assisting pilot, but we can fill the passengers up as well. You can hear all the noise behind. We can open everything up. We're going to explore the outside. If we turn around, got all of our passengers looking reasonably amused for the time being, except for the guy in the back. Look how cool that is. We've added the bags, and now in fact in the baggage areas you can see all the suitcases loaded in the various sections. Hopefully this guy doesn't have ticklish feet. That looks so smart, doesn't it? The showing now current weight is actually over what is allowed. So what we can do is get rid of a couple of the guys. Girls in the back. Close the doors and everything else as required as well. Services then. You can add fuel in here as you wish. You can change between both litres and kilos. You can clean the aircraft, or you can make it absolutely filthy. Look at that. Holy Christ, look at that. A weathered effect. It's like it's been in storage forever. But you know, you can have quite a lot of fun with this, getting the setup as you wish. You can make it filthy, you can clean it. You can change the rate of change from none to rapid, so you can make it really dirty very quickly, and it simulates the speed at which the aeroplane will get dirty. So you can go from static to just normal rate of change, clean the aeroplane by clicking the button like so, and you can hear a little ding at the end to let you know it's squeaky clean. Avionics suite then. See, I love this Garmin G5, and that is because the PA-28s that I fly out of Denham have both of these fitted, and it is a really good bit of kit. So I'm really pleased to see that they've added the Garmin G5 system in here. An initial state, go through an owned state, go through rental as well if you want to, in which case if we hide this, the little tachograph over there will just have a random reading on it, and it will change over time. And you can set some failure modes as well, so you can also put some rare mode failures on, and there's a whole suite of different failures included in the manual here, in addition to tweaking the realism settings as well. You can tick any of those based upon your preference too. Status page, ready for inspection or overhaul. So if we inspect it, we can see that everything is squeaky clean. We've just got in the aircraft and it's fresh out of maintenance. If you do change any of the options on board, especially the initial states, you'll need to restart the flight for it to actually take effect. Very smart, right? So, there's a 91-page manual which is included with this, and it goes through everything you need to know in it, to fly the aeroplane, manage all the systems, work out the different states and the failure modes, and everything else. So delve into it, and it will give you the flexibility of having whatever simulation you would like to see, including all the failures and things. So battery on, alternators left and right on. Checking the landing gear position indicators are showing 3 green like so, and we're going to press to test all the warning lights, and we'll work through whatever tests and things that we want as well to make sure they're all working as expected. Skipping through, we're going to make sure the cowl flaps are locked fully open, and they should be done by default, and we're going to check our fuel quantities and the gauges over here, 50% in the tanks. We'll work through the rest of the checks, including external lights as required. We've got strobes and nav lights and the anti-collision lights on. We're going to listen to the sounds here. Left engine first. Start. Primer switch. Left. Starter button. Press and hold. An auxiliary fuel pump. Left goes to low. RPM, want to set about 1,000. Sounds great, doesn't it? And all pressure, 10 psi minimum in 30 seconds. See all of the instruments there. Engine 2 then, I've enabled the realism systems. On the outside, we've got the engine started, and it's sounding really nice. Alrighty, so Avionics Masters on, and I want to actually see how they've simulated the G5, having used it in real life. One criticism that I have got is with the Garmin G5 system, when you do turn it on for the first time, it will go through a self-test mode, and initially it will take a couple of seconds, similar to when you actually turn it off as well. It will go into a countdown of about 30 seconds after a little while, say that there's no battery to the aircraft, and therefore it's going to self-shut down in due course. Finding this actually a little clunky. I'm doing the old shift and spin, and it's not actually increasing the rate at which the dial is being spun around, making it quite slow, especially compared to real life, for selecting heading as well. And in fact, this push button should be able to just press and hold it, and it will reset your heading to basically the direction you're already facing. So that again, there's something that they've not quite got right with the Sobo G5 itself. And the Garmin GNS 530, as you'd expect from other Avia aircraft in the Sim 2. So we've idled the throttle at the moment, we've got the taxi lights on. We can see the emissives from it, though we're not really getting much there by way of brightness, which is a bit weird. This is an in-development pre-release version though, so there are some features that might be different pre-release compared to the actual release version that does arrive. The other question that I will no doubt be asked is about what about surface deflections. So we're going full left and right, we're going to go all the way back on the elevator, all the way forwards, and then we're going to go full right and left on the rudder, like so. Same with the flight deck. If we look at the yoke, how good this looks. This is the first time that I'm going to be using the General Aviation throttle, prop and mixture levers as well on the Velocity 1, and actually so far I'm finding them really, really nice to use with this. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to go for a very quick flight. It's a bit of an introduction to the aeroplane, see what it can do. We're going to this is the first time I've taken off with it and the first time I'm going to be landing it on this recording. Best way to test an aeroplane is throw yourself straight into it, I suppose. And we're going to use bits of the checklist to assist us as well. Okay, park brake set. We're going to go through a run-up check. We're going to hear the sounds. Checking the auxiliary fuel pumps are both set to low, and the flight instruments are set. We're just on standard weather at the moment, and therefore the altimeter is 299.2 on there. Happy days. So we're going to make sure that's the same in the standby instruments, the analog instruments, I should say. We're going to go flying controls full and free once more. Hear the clunkiness of the elevator. Very cool. And then throttles set 1,700 RPM. Going to make sure the brakes are holding throughout this as well. There we go. Make sure the alternators are charging on the right hand side. And the vacuum system as well. We can check that too. Magnetos need to be checked. Checking for any dead cuts or anything like that in relation to loss of RPMs and everything too. We're going to go propellers, check feathering to 1200. Hear the pitch change there as well. In fact, they are feathered to 1200. And then we're going to slowly return them to full. Mixtures, check in the rich position. And engine instruments, they're all in the green arcs as well. Manifold pressure, oil, temperatures and pressures for both engines, and RPM is still 1700. It's stabilised back on what we set initially. Throttle's down to 1000 RPM, and in this default view here, now that I've reset it, you can see the RPM and the manifold pressure, two key instruments for us managing these complex aircraft props. And quadrant friction, you can adjust that if you want to as well. Exterior lights as required. Well, actually we're going to pop that on now, and we might as well put the landing lights on too. We're going to just depart straight away, and we're going to go through any icing and stuff if required as well. So here we go then. Taxi over the threshold on idle. We'll carry the speed across. We're going to aim to then line up on the runway. Now if we wanted a maximum performance takeoff, really short runway for example, we'd do flaps set to 15 degrees. but we're just going to leave them as they are for today. Power's going to go to full throttle. We're going to check 2,700 RPM, and we're going to lean the mixtures based upon airfield elevation. Interestingly, there's the landing lights, but again, there's no emissives, which is a little bit disappointing. That is the landing lights on as well. When you turn them off, there is a clear sort of texture change on the lights themselves, so perhaps that's something they can sort before release. Okay, so bar brakes off. We're going to hold it on the brakes for a second. Release the brakes. And we're going to set 2,700 RPM. So we're full throttle now. Speeds alive already. Engine T's and P's are in the green. About 80 knots. We're then going to pitch up slowly. Oops. And we're going to trim for climb. Let's check out the gear retraction animation, shall we, as well? There we are. It sounds lovely, doesn't it? And it looks pretty cool. Minus the landing lights and the taxi light emissives. And we're going to do a little circuit. There we are. So we've set the props and the manifold pressure accordingly for us to maintain a decent sort of cruise power setting. And we just want to make sure everything's in trim. You can of course use autopilot if you want, and if you've used the world map to plan your flight plan today as well for whatever reason, you can of course also turn on to nav and basically have the aeroplane fly your route for you, which is rather nice. And we'd work through changing the tanks and everything else as per the manual. There's a lot to it, and in fact they go into immense levels of detail telling you how to use all of this. It's really nice. Alright, so we're downwind at the moment. We're going to think about making our way back into Martha's Vineyard for a landing, just to sort of see how it lands, and I'll share my thoughts with you for that too. Now we're in the air, I'm going to try and press and hold this, and again it doesn't reset the Garmin G5 heading bug to our direction at this point, so again that's something that they do need to sort out, whether it's an Asobo thing or something that MilViz can do, I'm not sure. But before landing checks though, say seatbelt secure, alternate air controls check in. Wing flaps down below 158 knots, we are at the moment. Cruise, by the way, it's 150 knots by default, usually for the aeroplane, roughly around 150 to 170 or so knots, which is quite nice. We're going to extend the flaps now, and we're going to go down 15 degrees. Flap lever is behind the mixture, so what you do need to do is have a little look, and we're 15 degrees now, and it does cause quite a bit of balloon actually. The nose does. One thing I have noticed, it's not that easy to trim. It's got a tendency to want to pitch up quite a bit at the moment. Below 138 knots we can get the gear down. Alright, so we've worked through some of the pre-arrival checks, and we're now flying a little bit of a descent into Martha's Vineyard. Prop RPM's fully forward, but actually we want to fly and approach about 93 or so knots, and I'm finding it's actually really quite bouncy. It's difficult to compare if you've never flown one in real life, Look at that, one little application of power and the nose went straight up. So there are interesting things with the flight model. But we're too white at the moment. Actually, we could probably come off the speed a little bit here. So let's pitch power. Better. A little bit of bumpiness over the trees there, which is quite nice to see from the scenery and the sim. And that was quite a firm touchdown, and I was expecting a bit of a bump. But actually the aeroplane jutted straight into the air, and you can see I'm not even braking. There's a lot of rolling resistance. I haven't touched the brakes at all, actually. Which is interesting. Still decelerating. A little bit of rolling friction. Excessive friction, perhaps. Now we're going to do a bit of more manual brakes. Vacate. If you do want this scenery as well, if you want to purchase this, I'll put the links to the Burning Blue design, Martha's Vineyard scenery, into the description for today's video. Watch these flaps retract. Below the wing, there we go. Lovely little bit of bird flight over the top here. Going to cross this other runway. Taxi lights on. And basically the rest of it is just going to be done on shutdown as we get back on towards the stand here at Martha's Vineyard. So thankfully the GNS 530 would work as it does in any other aircraft in the sim at the moment. That's really self-explanatory, as does the transponder and the Bendix King autopilot as well. Fairly self-explanatory and easy to use. In addition to that as well, you could use the NDBs, or the ADF, sorry, to track the NDBs. Swing into the apron area. Park right outside the front. All in all, it's a good bit of fun, this aeroplane, but there are some issues that I've found with both the flight model and some of the emissives and the textures, like the landing lights and the taxi lights, and some frustrating elements with the G5, or the so-called G5 that they've put in, which actually missing a number of true-to-life features, like the ability to just rotate the heading bug. QNH works fine, that's as expected, but this one you should be able to press and hold it and it will reset the heading bug straight to your direction at the time. Avionics master switch then can go off. Again, I was hoping there for a bit of a self-test or a avionics switched off. They've got a bit of a battery in, so it'll give you a bit of a countdown. Final then for the shutdown is mixture to fully lean, and then we're just going to turn everything else off, isolate the electrics, and complete our shutdown checks effectively, and then we can open the door like so. Overall then, I think it's quite a nice aeroplane, certainly something that might appeal to quite a lot of you that might want a bit of a twin prop general aviation aircraft for slightly longer ops. In relation to lighting, I'd certainly like to see some significant improvements to both the taxi light and the landing light emissives, because they're pretty much non-existent at the moment. Not very nice to look at in that sense, but all the other lights, strobes, nav lights, etc., very nice indeed. I found it to be quite twitchy in the air and difficult to trim, but if you are using autopilot, then that does resolve that issue as well. Model-wise, I think they've done a fantastic job modelling the aeroplane, and it does look very, very nice indeed. The animations and the different configuration options inside the EFB are very nice, and the sounds are fantastic on the aeroplane as well. I love the realism modes. They've put a lot of thought into the service-based failures of the aeroplane as well, and the configurable different options, which do allow you to have a bit more of an individualised experience with the aeroplane. So that's a nice little tick too. In relation then to the G5 Garmin systems, I'd like to see the ability to have push and hold on the heading bug for it to reset your location. Again, that's something that I've experienced in real life with the G5, and I would have expected to have seen it operate in that way in the aeroplane, though I'm unsure whether or not that's an Asobo thing, something that MilViz can fix. In any case, very enjoyable, a little twitchy, a little bit of a handful, but certainly very good fun to fly. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, and the links are all in the description as well for both the aircraft and the Martha's Vineyard scenery by Burning Blue. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you found it interesting and quite useful, and I hope to see you in a live stream very soon. Take care.